Our guest today is Alex Thomas. He's an actor and comedian and also the writer of one of the biggest shows of all time, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and also did many voices on the hit show Family Guy. I'm Noah Danesh, and this is The Danesh Show. Alex, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me, man. This is really, really cool. I'm impressed, man.
Thank you. Well, Alex, now let's get to you. You have worked on so many different things in the show business, but really, what really got you started in the show business?
What got me started in the show business, man? First of all, I'm an LA dude, born and raised. I went to school right down the street from here, Fairfax High School. We didn't have a theater and a nice little studio like this, but I was just that kid in school. I was best sense of humor, class clown. It just happened naturally. I didn't think or know that I was going to end up doing it for a living. I didn't know that I would end up being a famous stand-up comedian or actor. I was just kind of being myself, being silly. And one thing led to another, and boom, here I am celebrating 25 years in the entertainment business, actually this month.
And who do you think really inspired you to get into this entertainment business?
Who inspired me? Two of some of the biggest comedians of all time, which was Richard Pryor and also Eddie Murphy. As a kid, I just always loved stand-up. I didn't really know how to go about it or, what do you do to become a stand-up comedian? I just knew I always had people laughing in my neighborhood, my family, my cousins, my friends, and those people watching their movies, watching their comedy specials and stuff like that. I guess it was just kind of in me. And, after high school, that's when I kind of pursued the whole thing. So.
And then how did you go from high school to becoming, a stand-up comedian and then an actor and working on so many different things?
Well, it's funny you say that because sometimes people ask me, they'll say, so what college did you go to? I'm like, well, to be honest with you, I went to college for about 20 minutes. I was the original college dropout way before Kanye West. It just didn't work out for me. You know what I mean? I tried school. Santa Monica College, Northridge, it didn't work out. Again, that's where the chops came around, where I was like, man, I'm making all these people laugh. But before all that, I was a dancer. I was a straight dancer, but let me clarify dance. What I mean by dance is straight hip hop. I was a break dancer, pop locker, and I danced on this famous show called Soul Train. So it was the hottest show, when I was growing up. And all the famous, urban artists over the years, from Michael Jackson to Prince to Run DMC to LL Cool J to NWA to anybody you could think of had to go through Soul Train. So I was very fortunate. From 15 years old to about 20, I was a dancer on Soul Train. And there was this other dancer on the show. Her name was Rosie Perez. These are all names that all the kids that are watching right now, they could Google these names later. So Rosie Perez was one of the most famous dancers on Soul Train. Long story short, we became great friends, and she became the choreographer for a new show called In Living Color. In Living Color was a famous sketch show. People like Jamie Foxx, Damon Wayans, Jim Carey, they all started on that show, and it was executive produced by Keenan Ivory Wayans. They had dancers on the show. They were called the Fly Girls. Jennifer Lopez was one of the Fly Girls. And Rosie Perez was the choreographer for the Fly Girls on the TV show In Living Color. Long story short, I became Rosie's assistant to the Fly Girls as a dancer.
Oh, wow.
Because I was silly and I was funny, but I could dance. Mm-hmm. And that's where I met Keenan Ivory Wayans and Damon Wayans. They were like, have you ever thought about doing stand-up comedy? I'm like, no. I was like, do comedians get paid? They were like, look at us. Next thing I know, I was doing stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. And it turns out later on, I found out that people like Keenan Ivory Wayans, they were writers and producers for my favorite of all time, which was Eddie Murphy. So Eddie Murphy had a famous stand-up comedy special called Raw, R-A-W. Right. And it turns out that those guys wrote a lot of his stuff. So it's funny, it's like 6 degrees of separation how through dance, I ended up meeting these guys who were comedy legends. They talked me into stand-up comedy. and the rest was history. That was all like 1991, 92. I don't think you were born yet. Yeah.
Not yet, no.
What year were you born?
I was born in 1999.
Oh my God, you were born last Thursday. You've only been here a couple of weeks. So yeah, man, it's been a very interesting ride.
Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of wanted to first talk about your stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part of doing that?
You know what? There's nothing like being in front of a live audience. It's the greatest feeling ever. Like, don't get me wrong, I love being on camera. I love all the movies and TV shows and cartoons and everything that I've done, but it's just nothing like being in front of a live audience. Like, it's like you're going up in front of 300 strangers every night. And the feeling of making 300 people, or when I'm doing theaters, when it's 1,500 seats, or when I'm doing arenas and it's 15,000 people, it's just, I can't explain the rush of making this complete room laugh. You know what I mean? It's like the greatest feeling ever, you know? It's like one of my hashtags is laughter is healing, you know? It's like we're almost like psychologists. We're like your parents. We're like doctors. It's like my way of healing the world is laughter. You know, a lot of people have had a bad day. You know, you don't know what every single person in this room is going through in their lives. You know, somebody could have just lost a family member. Somebody could have just lost a job. Somebody could be going through a drug or alcohol problem. Whatever it is, for this 1 hour when you come and see Alex Thomas, you're going to forget about it all and you're going to laugh. You know what I mean? It's nothing like going in front of a room full of all people. That's what I really love. I love going and telling jokes in front of a room. I see white people, I see black people, I see Asian people, I see gay people, I see straight people, I see Armenians, I see Chinese people. Whoever you are, laughter is universal. So it's a great feeling.
So when you're doing the stand-up comedy, do you write your material before? How do you handle that?
It's a good question. I have jokes and bits and things that are written down. It's almost like no different than an artist that's a singer or a rapper. They have their hits. You paid to go see them perform. Be like, rest in peace. Like if Michael Jackson was performing and you went to a show and he didn't do Beat It, or he didn't do Thriller, you know, you'd be really mad. You're like, I'm just trying some new stuff tonight. No, I need to hear Beat It. I need to hear Thriller, and then I'll hear all the other stuff. It's kind of like the same thing as stand-up comics. I have my hits. I have the things that people know, and then a lot of times it's off the top of the head. There might just be stuff I see, and I'm just talking about it, you know?
And then what do you see as the hardest parts of doing the stand-up comedy? Do you ever feel restricted in doing the stand-up comedy?
You know what? I don't even want to say the word is hard, even though stand-up comedy is known as the hardest thing in the entertainment business. You ask around and anybody tell you stand-up comedy has been known since the beginning of time to be one of the hardest things to do in the entertainment business. But I don't look at it as hard. You know, it's tough some nights when you're going in places and you're in a bar and there's 100 people in here and 97 of them are drunk. You know what I mean? You got to maybe get people's attention and they're all over the place. But it's really not too much hard about it anymore. But when you're starting out as a comedian, that's when it's tough. When they're not listening.
Yeah, when you started, did you have a fear or were you nervous when you're going out on stage?
Oh yeah, I can't even lie. I always tell people, because the question I always get is, did you ever bomb? Did you ever get booed off a stage? You know what? Thank God I've never got booed off a stage, but there was a lot of silence and crickets in the beginning. You know what I mean? Because sometimes crickets and silence, you'd almost rather be booed. Because when 200 people are just looking at you like, yeah, whatever. Try another one. That wasn't funny. Kill yourself. You suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it gets hard.
It gets very nerve-wracking. You know what I mean? So at the beginning, yeah, you experience that because they don't know who you are. You don't really have a routine. You don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're just hoping you're being funny and hoping people like you. You know what I'm saying? So, but you had to weather those storms. And when you realize, okay, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. You know, I just hung in there. And there wasn't a plan B for me. You know what I mean? There was nothing else to fall back on. It wasn't like, oh, if comedy doesn't work out, I can always go back to being a dermatologist like my dad. Or I can go back and own the family business. No, it wasn't none of that in my family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you had to
I
make
had
it
to
work.
make it happen, you know?
So now I wanted to transition more to your entertainment, working in the movie industry and the TV show industry. How did writing for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air come about?
It was a beautiful thing, man. I always tell this story to motivate other young kids or people that are watching right now or young up-and-coming comics. You know, there's a saying I always say, my career has literally been like the right place at the right time. being in the right place at the right time. It's the story of my life, you know. I'll never forget the day like it was yesterday. July 2nd, 1992. I was a broke stand-up comic. I had $11 in my pocket. I caught the bus to the world famous Laugh Factory up in Hollywood on Sunset. I sat in a 16-hour line just to go up and do 3 minutes. Amateur night. I'll never forget, it was a Tuesday. And I went up, did my little 3 minutes, and Will Smith was sitting in the front row of the show. Like literally as close as you and me. Got off stage, he was like, yo man, you're real funny, man. My name is, I was like, I know who you are. Shoot, you're Will Smith. He goes, yeah man, I have this brand new TV show. I was like, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I watch it every week. It had only been on a year at that time. He goes, well, let me ask you a question. He goes, man, do you write? I was like, man, do you have a pen? He was like, do you think you can come down and help us with some funny stuff like what I saw on stage tonight? I was like, hold on, let me check my schedule. Yes, I'm available. He's like, when do you think you could come down? I'm like, now. Can I get a ride with you? And the rest is history. I was there the next day, and I was there for 4 years. Wow. And I was one of the writers on one of the biggest TV shows of all time. You know, we never knew that it was going to end up being such a huge show. I'm pretty sure all the kids and everybody watching right now, they still watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to this day. You know, it's kind of crazy to me when I see a kid that's 16, 17, 19, 20, and it's their favorite show right now. And our last episode was in 97. Wow. You weren't even born yet. No. Like your whole life has been reruns, but it's still your favorite show. So that's a great compliment, you know, to being a part of that. And that just opened up all the doors for me. And I always thank Will Smith. So Will Smith, if you're in Beverly Hills right now watching KBEV 6, thank you, bro. Thank you, sir.
That's great. Yeah. And then also, so when you're writing the jokes for the show, how does it work? You're at writer's table and you're kind of giving your idea for jokes, or how does that come
That's
about?
Exactly how I started. I started out as what's called a punch-up writer. So basically, you know, all the jokes on the script that were written for Will Smith, he would give it to me and say, Alex, that's funny, but can you make it funnier? Oh, wow. That's cool what they said, but what would you say? Because, you know, Will Smith and I, the reason we got along so well, and reason we were such great friends is because the exact same way he grew up in Philly was the exact same way I grew up here in LA. I grew up here in LA. I'm a LA dude. But I have a very interesting story. You know, I was the only black kid in an all-white private school right here in the middle of Beverly Hills. Burton Way and Doheny. There used to be a school, it's still around. It's called Berkeley Hall. You ever heard of Berkeley Hall?
I have, yeah.
It's on the Mulholland down. All the superstars kids go there. I was actually the first black kid to go to that school. Yeah, in 1976. So I was bused from South Central LA, born and raised, to Beverly Hills. So it's just what I was around, you know? I wasn't doing a lot of things that the black kids in the hood were doing. Like all my friends could play football and they could run real fast. They were great basketball players. I was doing what the white kids were doing. I could swim. I played golf. I was on varsity speech and debate. You know, I was like really like Carlton for real, but just not that white. You know? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was in Glee Club and I played AYSO soccer for 14 years. So it was what I grew up around. So when it came to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a lot of the ideas and a lot of things that were written on the show was a lot like how my life really was too, along with other great writers. I wasn't by myself. Will just put me in a room with people that really knew their craft. All I knew was jokes at the beginning. You know what I mean? I was just raw and funny. And I thank him a lot for that. So.
And when you're watching the shows being taped live, how would you react to your jokes being said, you know, on the TV? Did they say it the right way? Yeah.
It's crazy you brought that up because nowadays, like 85% of the shows I've done in the last 2-3 years, there's no live audiences anymore. Now it's just all editing, laugh tracks. Laugh tracks can make anybody funny. You can be serious and they can push a button and be like, that was hysterical. He didn't even tell a joke.
Exactly.
And you're laughing at it. But back then, like in the 90s on TV, a lot of the hit shows, Seinfeld, Home Improvement, Cosby Show, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin, it was all live audiences. So you got the truth. Live audiences let you know if the jokes were funny or not, right? But Will used to always do something really cool. We would always do 2 or 3 takes, and we kind of always save my takes to last with the jokes that I wrote. And not knocking any of those guys' jokes, they were very funny, but my stuff was laugh out loud before the word laugh out loud. Fall on your butt, laugh. You know what I mean? So whenever the big laughs would happen at the end of the scenes, Will Smith would be like, Alex Thomas, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Thomas. And I'd be like, hey, thank you, appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that must have felt amazing, in front of all these people, Will Smith.
Absolutely. So, it came back around because when I did my first hour comedy special, he was a part of it. Straight Clowning, which is still a cult classic right now, ran on Showtime for years. It was my first hour special. I did a real funny comedy sketch, and all my superstar friends were a part of it. You know what I mean? So this is way before Kevin Hart, way before Dave Chappelle, all these guys. It was Will Smith was on it with me. Dr. Dre did all my music. Shaquille O'Neal was on it with me. Tyra Banks and Jamie Foxx. So, I was on the Jamie Foxx show for years. I grew up with Tyra Banks. Shaq was always just a good friend of mine. Being in LA when he was on the Lakers, he would always come to my shows. I would go to his games. Will Smith, I worked writing on the show, so they all came together and helped me out on my first special. All these people watching are going to have a lot of stuff to Google when they finish this. Yeah. Straight Clowning. Remember that.
And before, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Straight Clowning. I have one more question about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. A lot of the episodes discuss very serious topics. How were you able to put your jokes into that, and how was that like? Yeah,
so that's another thing we always were on topics and things that were going on, and that's why it's a team of writers. You have some guys that are really great at structure. You have some guys that are really, really good with storylines, and you have guys like me that were really, really good with the jokes. It's like any team. It's like in pro sports. Phil Jackson can't take all the credit the same way Kobe couldn't take all the credit. Same way Michael Jordan couldn't take all the credit. It's funny you say that because people would always come up to me and go, oh my God, so you're the reason Will Smith was so funny. I was like, no, I can't take that credit. He was already a super funny guy still to this day. I just added what I knew into what he already knew, and we made it this great team thing. Same way, Phil Jackson couldn't say he's the reason Michael Jordan was the way Michael Jordan was. He's not the reason Kobe Bryant did what he did. No, for those guys to win championships, you needed a great coach. You needed great players. You needed a team. And so I never take credit for that. I mean, I just thank Will Smith for giving me that opportunity. I just was really good at what I did, which was writing jokes. You know what I mean? So, but jokes is a big part of it. That's what people remember, the laughter. You know what I mean? So.
Exactly. So Straight Clowning, going back to that. So you got to work with Will Smith and all these other amazing people. What was it like being on a show with all these amazing people?
It was amazing, man. Because Will found me doing stand-up comedy. You know what I mean? I wanted the world to know me as a very funny stand-up comic, and I knew that would lead to other things, because all of the greats, that's what happened with all of them. You know what I mean? And all these Google names that you can check out, from Jay Leno to David Letterman to Jim Carey to Jerry Seinfeld to Richard Pryor to all these great stand-up comics that started on stage. Look what they ended up doing. It all ended up being TV and movies, and I just knew that if I can get a strong 1 hour comedy special, that would lead to TV and movies, and that's exactly what it did. You know what I mean? So it's a beautiful thing. I can't complain. I've had a hell of a career. It's not over. I got a whole lot of things going on, new stuff coming up too, so yeah.
So what were some of the TVs and movies you worked on after your special?
I did a lot of movies like The Players Club. That was me and Ice Cube. I did The Wash. That was me, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre. I did Just Married. Ashton Kutcher, me, Brittany Murphy. Of course, The Family Guy came after that, doing a lot of voices and characters on that. Just a lot of great projects. One thing about the entertainment is it's a saying, it's called work gets you work. You know what I mean? From all those things, like my new series coming out on Netflix. It's going to be Netflix new animated series. It's called Motown. It's called Motown Live, to be exact. It's going to be on Netflix. It's executive produced by Smokey Robinson, who's a legend. And the same people that, picked me for Family Guy, they picked me for this series. So that's going to be coming this Christmas on Netflix, Motown Live. Look out for that. It's going to be very educational to the younger generation, but to the older generation, they'll remember names like the Jackson 5, where Michael Jackson started. The Temptations. These are all names that a lot of the kids your age, they might not know, but they know the music. You know what I mean? The Supremes and all those kind of songs. So it's great, man.
And you worked on so many different kinds of mediums. What is it like working on this brand new one, Netflix, and all this streaming?
It's great, man. You know, it's just, it's a way to stay relevant. You know what I mean? After being in the business 25 years, it's changed. Social media is huge now. You know what I mean? Social media wasn't around when I started, but it's here now. Just like social media today. I'm gonna be on Instagram letting everybody know where I was. You know what I mean? KBEV 6, you know, at Beverly Hills High, you know. The younger generation, they may have not have known about me, they're gonna know now. You know what I mean? I've embraced social media big time. You know, so anybody watching, you can follow me on Instagram, Funny Man Alex Thomas, at Funny Man Alex Thomas. And I'll let them know, you know, what my next project is, where I'm at next. I did 47 cities this year.
Oh, wow.
I'm on the road like crazy in a different city almost every week doing comedy. So, you know, stay relevant.
Going into all these different cities, how do you handle going to a new city every week and going to a new crowd of people, a new place?
It's a beautiful thing. People always ask me, they're like, how do you come up with material? Traveling. When you travel so much, it gives you different things to talk about. You know, whether I'm playing golf in Jacksonville, Florida, TPC, Sawgrass, or I'm hanging out playing with, you know, some of my buddies that play on the Denver Broncos and them all coming out to my shows, or I'm doing a show, you know, in Philly and there's 25 Amish people that come up to me afterwards and we love you, you're so funny. I'm like, wow, I've never met an Amish person before. Tell me some stories, you know what I mean? I never knew there was a real place called the North Pole. You've heard of the North Pole?
Yes.
We've all heard of the North Pole, right? I'm from South Central LA. About 3-4 months ago, I ended up doing a show at the North Pole.
Wow.
31 below. Wow. The coldest day in North Pole history.
How many people came out for that show?
How about it was sold out, 1,500 people.
Wow.
In a theater. It's a military show, an army base up there. And you know, it's one of the biggest army bases in America. I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't have any Eskimo jokes. I don't know if I can function in 31 below. Come on, you gotta think about it, man. I got on the plane, LAX, it was 85 degrees. They were looking at me crazy because I didn't know how to dress. Because you know, I looked at the weather, I'm like 31, I'm leaving in a wife beater. You know what I mean? And some Vans, but I also have a scarf and a beanie on. Look at me like, where are you going? I'm like, I'll find out when I get there. I'm just giving you an example of how I've been all over the world, and they'll have to come to my show live to catch that one. My show's tonight too, by the way. Is today Tuesday?
Today's Tuesday.
Oh yeah, the hottest comedy club in LA. Every Tuesday night. Yeah, when you're 21, you're gonna have to show up.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
It's called the Ha Ha Cafe Comedy Club. Ha Ha Cafe Comedy Club. It's a couple blocks away from Universal Studios. It's a live show every week. Some of the biggest stars in comedy drop by and just go on stage and, you know, make people laugh. So I'll be there tonight.
Perfect. And you mentioned you worked in front of the military. Shows in front of the military. Do you see a difference? You do anything different when you're doing that?
Not really. The beautiful thing, first of all, big shout out to all the troops that are keeping us safe here in America. You know what I mean? We have a new president, and we need as much safety as possible. But it's crazy because the military shows I do, and I do military bases all over the world, it's still people from all over America. So even though I was in Anchorage, Alaska, or even I may be in South Carolina, or the reason I may be in Tacoma or Texas, there's still people from all over the country. So it's the same as if I went up in a regular show up in Hollywood at the Improv or the Laugh Factory. So great response, you know, people that followed me for years.
And the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on is you work on a lot of great charities and foundations. So can you discuss that a little bit? Yes,
I have a pediatric cancer foundation for kids with cancer, and I'm a huge golfer, and I play in about 15, 20 celebrity golf tournaments every year. And I was playing in all these celebrity tournaments, and I'm like, and people will always ask me, like, when are you gonna do a tournament? You love golf? Well, and by the way, I'm the ghetto Tiger Woods. They call me Inglewoods. Yes, I'm Inglewoods. So I started my own foundation to help these kids with cancer. I had a few people pass from cancer in my family, and it really touched me. I was like, how can I help? How can I give back? I know there's no cure or anything right now, but any way we can help. And it turns out all my celebrity friends helped me out, and like every year it's been crazy. We do an ESPY week when all the NFL and NBA and everybody's in town for the ESPYs. They all play in my tournament, and we've been able to raise a lot of money through the Ronald McDonald House to help these kids and their families. So that's a big thing, the philanthropy side of me. You know what I mean?
That's great. You're so great on all aspects.
Can I give you a compliment, man? Great job.
Thank you so much.
I'm so impressed.
Thank you so much.
You look exactly like your mama and your daddy. Anybody watching right now, they all know I'm good friends with your family, and you guys mean a lot to us.
Thank you so much.
You know, and your cousin delivered my daughter, so we'll ever be indebted to her, Candace. You know what I mean? So it's great to be here on the show. I saw what you were doing. I said, no problem, man. This is like family. I had no problem being here.
Thank you so much, Alex. Before I let you go, I have one last question that I like to ask all my guests.
Yes.
What is the best line of advice you've ever received?
The best line of advice.
Yes.
There's actually a few, but I'll just give you one. And it's a saying, and it just, it is what it is when I say it. But it's preparation, right? A lot of people try to get prepared to do these things in life, whatever you do, whether you want to be a doctor, athlete, entertainer, lawyer, whatever. But there's a saying that can go with anybody and everybody, no matter what you do. And that is, stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready when it's time. You know what I mean? If you prepare yourself, and this goes out for students or whatever we do in life, always be prepared. You never know when that opportunity is going to come. You know what I mean? So I live by that. Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
That's really great.
You
Alex,
know?
thank you so much again for coming.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.
And remember, everybody remember my hashtag, the funny don't stop.
Funny don't stop.
The funny don't stop. And hit me on Instagram or social media, Facebook, all at funnyman Alex Thomas.
Thank you so much again, Alex.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for watching The Danesh Show. We will see you next time.